Hi, I'm Kiana Miner. Welcome to the Crazy Courage webinar, where we are busting success myths and learning how to live more courageously. Today, we are going to have an excellent conversation, I can already tell. Our guest with us today is Dr. Danielle Dowling. Danielle is a life coach and a psychologist. She works with women leaders who are ready to stop compromising on things that matter most, like self realization, soulful companionship, and accessing their innate power. And that right there, those 3 points, I just think those are amazing. That's the focus of your work because I feel like those are the things that probably mean the most to us, but they are also the things we compromise the most. So, anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. So excited to have you. So I read your bio, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, but so I'm Dr. Danielle Dowling, and I, about a year and a half ago, graduated with my doctorate in psychology. I started off by earning my master's. It was quite a road getting there, which I am sure we'll talk about a little bit more. I absolutely adore what I do. I work with people that are looking to up their game in life. So they're either, already good at what they're at, but want to be great, or they're stuck and want to get unstuck. Okay. And ultimately, I'm really interested in helping people create lives that they love living in, whether that's some big, huge, like build an empire kind of life, or whether that's just, more of a humble story. It lights my heart up to really help them access their power and really have a lot more clarity around what it is that makes them happy and figure out how can we do that on a regular basis much more often.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Now, did you come to doing this work because this was a journey that you experienced yourself?
Yeah, it was pretty hard for a while. It's my 20s were very difficult for me. My father passed away. He passed away after being sick for a little while. My parents divorced. I had a couple friends pass away in 9/11. I was at war with my body and food. I mean, my 20s were really a very soul-searching kind of time for me. And I used to joke with a good girlfriend that all this adversity was just going to help me be a better psychologist one day. It's almost like I knew that was going to happen, like somehow, and I don't regret anything because it is so much because of, all of those experiences that I went through and the range of emotions that I experienced, that I feel that I am able to have the depth of empathy and the access to the empathy that I need to really help my clients.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you had a lot of experiences back to back in your early 20s, which I think the 20s are hard anyway because it's kind of like, okay, welcome to adulthood.
Totally.
And there's so much we don't know, You feel like, I know for me personally, I felt like I knew everything. But there was just so much I was, having to learn about myself and about the world. How did you deal with all of that? Like all of those experiences that you named, losing loved ones, losing your father, like how did you deal with the emotional stress of that?
Sometimes I simply just repressed it all.
Okay.
I don't know that I always dealt with it in a healthy way. I mean, it was a decade journey for sure. It was around probably the age 27 or so that I went to go see a therapist, and I really began sort of the climb out, as I call it. And it was really at that point that I started accessing more spiritual readings, more spiritual audios, spoke to a therapist, like I said, just the beginning of seeing the light, I guess. But up until then, I repressed a lot. I as far as money goes, I used to hide my credit card bills in a drawer and not look at it. I didn't eat properly. I overexercised. There were I could only be in a relationship for about 3 months
Okay.
before I sabotaged it because what you said is very accurate. I experienced a lot of significant loss back to back,
Okay.
and I consider myself a pretty resilient person, but I kept I absolutely kept bouncing back, but with a lot of fear. And I sort of had this perspective of just always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I was very skeptical of making emotional investments because the thought process was very much, well, what if I invest in you? What if I love you? What if I care about you and you just go away?
Okay.
You know, so there was a lot of that going on, but as most people would guess, it's a pretty small life. It's very myopic thinking. You can't control everything that's happening, and you eventually begin to feel suffocated by that type of behavior, by that kind of repression, because ultimately you're creating a very small world for yourself, and so the suffocation eventually just became too painful, and I had to figure out a way out, and that's exactly what I did.
Oh, okay, awesome. Now, in that time, what would you say was your most courageous moment?
Well, definitely going back to school was my most courageous moment, and that happened around the time I was 31-ish.
Oh, okay.
So probably from 27 to 31, I just did a lot of a lot of soul work, a lot of digging, a lot of thinking, a lot of introspection, a lot of getting straight with myself. And at 31, when I went back to school, that was my most courageous moment because it was a huge financial investment and a huge time investment.
Okay. Now, did you know you wanted to be a psychologist, or was that something you figured out later? Like, I know you said you were joking with your friend, but did you know that was the path for you?
Yes. So despite what was going on in my life in my 20s, for some reason I could really offer sound advice to my friends and my family and my coworkers around me. So really, since a very young age, people have always come to me, knocked on my door at work, you know, picked up the phone and called me and said, "Hey, I've got this situation going on. Can you help me, you know, get through? What do you think?" And I actually do think, you know, part of that is because I experienced so much adversity in my 20s. Like, it was almost like, well, if anybody knows what to do, maybe it's Danielle. You know, so a lot of that happened. So yes, I mean, from a very young age, I've just adored being there for other people and helping them break down barriers and roadblocks, sort of on the road to the life they most desire. But it took me, you know, the time I've laid out for you, it took me that amount of time to pull up the courage to really create that life. I mean, again, to trust myself to go back to school and be able to financially handle it, and also the time commitment too.
Okay. Now, were you leaving a job to do that, or were you?
I did. I had a lifestyle job which had me busy after work and on the weekends, and I left that job and I took a 9-to-5 job so I could go to school at night and on Sundays.
Wow. So you were pretty much either working or in school all the time. Okay.
Yes. And when I finished my master's is when I began to build my coaching website. So at a certain point, there was day job, website, and school at night. And so it really was quite a juggle.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I actually worked and went to school at the same time too, so I definitely know what a struggle that can be. Where do you think that inner courage came from to take that leap and decide, okay, you know what, I want to further my education, I want to, you know, go in this direction with my career?
Yeah, I think that kind of courageousness really comes from having a huge element of trust in yourself. And I think that I spent my 20s waiting for sort of like the mothership to come, like somebody to save me. Like I definitely was looking for that Prince Charming. I was looking for the great house in the Hamptons. Maybe he was going to have like a financial job, like I was just like anything where I didn't have to sort of take the chance on my own. Because what if I messed it up? There's just a lot of fear there. And if there's anything my 20s taught me, embarking on 30, was that the mothership was not coming. Nobody was going to save me. I had to be the minister of my own rescue. And if I wanted to get to it, I just needed to get to it. And so there, and I've said this, in other past interviews too, a defining moment for me was when I just happened to wake up one morning and I sat up straight in bed and I asked myself, I said, why am I not going back to school? Because I had thought about it plenty of times prior to that moment. But what I now understand, at the time I didn't, what I now understand is I lacked the trust in myself. I didn't trust myself, to take on such a huge responsibility without maybe messing it up. What if I couldn't pull through for myself? So in that moment, for some reason, maybe all the spiritual work I had been doing, all the soul work, all the digging, all the introspection, all the getting centered kind of work just kind of, came to a climax, I guess. And it just hit me at that moment, and I said, why am I not going back to school? And suddenly every excuse I had for not going back didn't hold water anymore. And the next thing I thought was, I trust myself to figure it out. And in that moment, I just decided whatever had happened in my past, whatever I might have screwed up, whatever losses I had experienced, I'm not going to let them color this particular moment, the now. I decide, I trust myself to take care of myself. And that was a key. That's what helped me transition into this life. I trust myself to figure it out. So I think that for me, at least, that's where courageousness comes from. If something happens in my life, if an opportunity presents itself, and I'm feeling like, I'm feeling a little doubtful, or I'm like, oh, can I do that? I don't know. Like that's a big risk. There's a lot on the line. I just kind of fold inwards. And if I'm getting a gut feeling like this is going to be right, and if I still feel afraid, which a lot of times happens, of course, you're scared, even though it's the quote-unquote right thing to do for you, I very much am in the practice of leaning on that trust, calling that trust up and saying, nope, I trust myself to figure this out. I trust myself to come through for myself, and that's what enables me to sort of, what do they say? Feel the fear and push through anyway. Yeah, like it's that allows me to do it. Like, okay, I'm scared shitless, but you know what?
Right.
I trust myself. I trust that this is the right fit, and I trust that I will do the best possible job I can do here.
I feel like you can't say that enough. Like, every time you say that, I trust myself to figure it out. Like, I can feel that. I just love that. That's such a great affirmation. Because I think that is at the root of a lot of our fear sometimes, is that we just don't trust ourselves. So we're waiting for either, a mate who's going to help us fix it, or, it can be all kinds of things that we're waiting for.
Sure, like someone to drop $1 million in your bank account so you don't, you can just sip pina coladas, on the Virgin Islands for the rest of your life. I was literally waiting for some of that stuff to happen.
Yeah, me too.
Just figuring out your own life can be painful.
It can be.
You're gonna, stuff is going to come up. Like, all your shit is going to come up. All your self-imposed limitations, all the self-sabotage, the argument you had with your mom when you were 9, the fact that your dad passed away when you were 17, that boyfriend that never said I love you back. It's all going to come up, but it's going to come up so you can go straight through it. So you can finally, have some acceptance and peace around it, and then move beyond it.
Okay.
And so you do really need to trust yourself that you're in good hands in order to feel all that pain and then transcend, past it.
Okay. I think that makes so much sense. I know my early 20s, my struggle was I really wanted to have my own business, but I kept finding myself in these jobs that were a lot of structure, and I did well at them, but it never felt that feeling started to come back up again. And I'd be like, I really want to have my own business, but I didn't trust myself to be without like a manager and a structured organization. And, like, what would I do? Would I fail or whatever? So, yeah, I totally resonate with that. That's awesome. What would you tell yourself about sort of trusting yourself and believing in yourself? What would you tell your younger self or anyone still in that position where they're don't feel quite ready to make the leap?
Yeah, I mean, I would say what I just said, which is that, you need to recognize the friend in yourself. Okay. That was a moment for me. At a certain point, I was like, wow, all these people come to me for advice and for support because they believe that I'm going to say something that's going to help them feel more empowered and help them get through this moment. Even if it's one little thing, not that I'm going to fix it, not that their journey will be over, not that it'll, all the pain will go away, but there'll be something that they can really latch onto that's going to help them feel hopeful and empowered and focused forward. And it dawned on me one day, I'm like, if everybody else comes to me for that, why don't I look towards myself for that kind of support? I'm my own best friend. I'm in very good hands. Okay. And so I would say that. I would say, again, what I said earlier, I trust myself to figure it out. I would also say chunk it down. I think a lot of times where we go awry, I'm not sure if we're talking about perhaps someone in their 20s that's looking to start their own business or someone in their 30s that's looking to start their own business, whatever undertaking that it is that's in front of you. If it's a passion project, hopefully it's a passion project, something your heart's, very much invested in. But one of the ways it can go awry is when you tend to overthink every step between right now and the final execution of the project, And it's in that overthinking that we can get caught up in the details and start questioning our capabilities and our trust in ourselves. Oh my God, and what, in my example, oh my God, I have to write a master's dissertation. Oh my God, I got to write a PhD. Oh my God, I'm going to be in school for 5 freaking years. Like, that's a long time. I mean, it's anything to make, people would run for the hills, it just seems like too much. But one of the ways I got through it was just to chunk it down and say, I'm not going to think about my doctorate in my master's. Okay. I'm just going to do my master's. I'm not going to think about the end of my master's. I'm just doing day 1. Okay. I'm just doing paper 1. I'm just doing... So one of the other pieces of advice is just do the next best thing. Okay. Just do that, check it off your list, complete that, and then say, okay, what's the next best thing for me to do? Go do that. Okay. Check it off your list. Ask the question, what's it? Try not to get too caught up in, like, don't get 60 miles down the road and be asking yourself, will I be able to do that? We're not even there yet. Right. We just need to do day 1. We need to do day 18. Forget about day 392.
Why do we do that? That's so true.
Well, I think it's because we so deeply want to be okay, right? It's just in our human nature. We have these 2 great fears, which are also 2 great desires, which is that we will be loved and that we will be enough. Enough for whatever it is, enough for him, enough for her, enough for them, enough for the job, enough for the career. So we have this deep fear of not being enough. And so I think that drives us to constantly think about our okayness. Will I be okay? And however we can glean okayness, we will reach for it. And that's why I think we overthink, so much time in fear. Will I be okay at this point? Will I be okay at that point? We try to think of all the possible roadblocks, all the ways we could get blindsided, so then we can sort of prepare ourselves for the moment it goes awry and have the answer or know now, how we're going to react to that potential challenge, 2 years from now, so we can guarantee our own okayness. It's a matter of like, we want to feel safe and okay. So we think that if we overanalyze, if we over control, if we create very safe worlds for ourselves, very what we call safe worlds, but really they're small worlds.
Okay.
If we create that kind of world, we will be okay.
Right.
But there's no possible way to plan for every single roadblock, every single, occasion that we might get what we perceive as blindsided. We can only do the best we can possibly do in this moment, knowing everything that you know today. What's the next best step? Just do that. Okay. And trust that the help and the compassion and the support you need will be provided at the exact right moment.
Yeah, I think that's true. How did this affect this theory once you started to kind of apply this to your life? How did it affect your finances? You mentioned that you kind of stuffed your credit card bills in the drawer. Yeah. How did it affect your finances when you started to say, okay, I can figure everything out, I trust myself?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not like the thousands rolled in the moment I was, like, oh, I'm gonna look at my credit card bill, nobody dropped off a check at my front door for like grad school's paid, like it wasn't like that, but it felt so much more empowering to accept the reality of my financial situation. I was no longer hiding from it, but I was now in charge of it, right? So again, I could take care of myself. Maybe I hadn't done so well at that financially up until that moment, but I can make today different. I could create a plan to financially pay off my credit card. I could create a plan to have $25 deducted from my paycheck and put into my savings account once a week. So I would create a little savings. I would create a nest egg for myself. Okay. So I put systems in place. I have I'll share this. I do Money Friday. I have a date with my money on Fridays. Yeah. Okay. So I think that in order for your money to love you, you have to love it. It's just another relationship, just like you have relationships in your life with men and women and parents and friends and children. So it's just another relationship. And so I try to have a good one with it. I used to have a very adverse relationship with money. And that's why I put the credit card bills in my drawer and I didn't look at them, or I didn't look at my bank account and I would let it go into overdraft, that kind of stuff. I buy $1,000 Louis Vuitton bag and then I didn't have food for 3 weeks, so what I do now, and I've been doing for a little while, I have a money date on Fridays. So I sit down. It takes no time at all. It takes like 12 minutes, and I go to my Chase account and I look just to see where my money is. I make sure like everything's getting paid properly. How much do I have? I go to my PayPal account, which is where clients pay me. I check on my money there. I go to my savings account. I check my credit card. Where are we at? How much do I owe? Okay. I go and I visit all my money. And I say, hi, mommy. I love my money. Right. Even if it's $19.
Right.
I go, I am very grateful for that $19 that I have right there. Okay. I really try to celebrate whatever's there. And I very much celebrate paying the people that work for me. Okay. Every time I have 3 people that work for me, and every month when I go to pay them, I say, universe, thank you for, the money to pay my employees right now. I feel so grateful that I can write this check easily.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And then also with one of my other money things is that if I go to buy something for myself, and I'm feeling a little nervous about the dollar amount, I always say there's more where that came from.
Oh, nice.
So just trying to change my relationship with money.
Okay. I love that. Now, in addition to affirmations, because you're saying affirmations a lot, so I can tell that they're probably near and dear to you, What
Yeah.
other kinds of things do you do to stay in balance, to keep your courage up?
Yeah, so I have, and actually this is free on my website if anybody else wants to go and grab this.
Okay.
I have a page called Free Stuff,
Okay.
and on that page there's a bunch of different kind of like daily, weekly, yearly planners.
Okay.
One sheet like downloads. The yearly one is maybe 15 sheets. But I created those based on what I was already doing for myself.
Okay.
So one of the ways I stay in balance more often than not. Not every day is a balanced day. Not every week is my most balanced week. I mean, that's just the ebb and flow of human nature. Some, but the idea is how do you stay, how do you have an equilibrium more often than not? And one of the ways for me is that I sort of have a feel-good formula. There's a handful of things that I know that if I'm doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, they allow me to feel my most centered. Okay. For example, I like to get like 10 to 15 minutes in the morning where I go to my balcony and I have a cup of coffee and I just look at the trees and I look at the mountains. I sip on my coffee and I just sort of breathe into the day. Like there's something about that 10 minutes that just makes me feel like not totally slammed by my day from the moment I get up. Green juices, I like cold pressed green juices or really any kind of cold pressed juice without a lot of sugar in it. Okay. Those, if I can drink a couple of those a week, I feel like I've done something good for my body. Okay. I like to work out 4 times a week. That's a little cardio, little weights, things like that really allow me to stay centered. Having 10 minutes with my fiance before we go to bed at night, we have a ritual where he'll sometimes he'll go to bed later than me, but we have a ritual where he'll come and lay down with me and we'll just no TV, no nothing, and we'll just connect for 10 or 20 minutes, and that makes me feel good. Okay. So I sort of have figured out what are the things that need to be a part of my regular schedule. Okay. And then I do those things every day, every week. So anyone that's listening is welcome to go to my Free Stuff page, download the Make It Happen daily sheet, okay. And there's about, I think 6 or 7 prompts on that sheet, okay. About priority list, what you absolutely need to get done today, what can wait, how are you going to move your body, what kind of good food are you going to put in, okay. What's your word of the day, okay. Just to have a little intention with your day. What are you feeling grateful for? Gratitude is also something I try to focus on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are those worksheets something you use to work with your clients?
Absolutely. I'm always sending them to my clients. I actually have clients where our agreement is that they fill it out every day for 3 weeks, and they scan it and send it to me, just to kind of help them set new healthy routines, help them really take care of themselves and be kind to themselves. So there's a weekly recap as well, which is a really nice way of kind of taking note of what happened in the week, where you really succeeded, what you're still working on, what you could do a little bit better, what you learned. Okay. It's a nice moment to just get introspective.
Okay. Do you feel like that introspection helps clients access their intuition more? Because that seems like an important part of what you do.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think intuition is natural. Everybody's born with intuition. It's not like some people are got more of the intuition like magic fairy dust than other people. We are all intuitive individuals, but you just have to hone it. Okay. You just have to sharpen it. You have to get into a space where you can hear yourself more. And so I absolutely think that putting good food in your body, moving your body, reflecting on what you're grateful for, things like that, surrounding yourself with a team of people that support you and love you, all of those things allow you to hear yourself more.
Okay. What great information you've shared. Dr. Danielle, if people want to get in touch with you, where would they go?
Sure, they go to DanielleDowling.com.
Okay, awesome. I'll also put a link to that below. I hate that we're out of time, but if you could maybe share some last insights about courage or about your journey? Any
Yeah,
last?
I think that it's never too late to be you. I say that all the time to people. It's never too late to be you. When I went back to school at like 31, I thought I was way too old.
That's funny.
And like now I'm gonna be 38 in 2 months, and I'm like,
Okay.
woo, I was so young. Who told me I was too old?
Right.
Like, I mean, I have 27-year-old clients that are like, did I miss the boat? Like, I'm like, girl, when you get to 38, you'll be like, I was so young. Thank God I jumped on that. You know, like I got on it right away. It is never too late to be you. It is never too late to be you.
Okay. Yeah, it's so funny that you say that. I remember being 24 and thinking, oh my gosh, like my life it does not look like Friends yet. You know, like
Yes.
when is that?
That's
when
funny.
is it going to look like that? When is it going to be all together? But that's funny. So it's never too late to be authentic.
That's right.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. You shared a lot of great insight, a lot of great tools, and I know people will benefit from them.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm just so honored, so thrilled. I'm always extremely grateful that anyone wants to talk to me about anything.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And everyone tune in tomorrow. We'll have another great interview. So we'll see you then. Bye.